All right. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. Going to give it a minute for everyone to filter in, and then we will get started. All right. So I know some people are still joining, but we have a lot of content and want to save time for the Q&A, and we also want to respect y'all's time and make sure we wrap up right at the top of the hour. So we will go ahead and jump in. Welcome to the Magento Association Town Hall. Glad to have y'all here. If you have any questions for us, if you were at our last town hall, you might remember we used a tool called Slido that's at www.sli.do. If you go there, enter the code 881003, you can ask questions and upvote questions that you want to see answered during the Q&A. We'll pop that link and code up periodically at the bottom left of some of the slides. So go ahead and start loading up your questions. And if you'll, yeah, perfect. So we're going to start today talking about since we last spoke, so giving y'all some updates since last year's town hall of what we've been up to as an association. And the first thing we're going to cover is our leadership team. So I just wanted to take a moment. So my name is Joshua Warren. I am one of the directors and also the chair of the board of directors of the Magento Association. So I'm kicking us off this morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. We have had some change in the board since our last meeting, and I wanted to take a moment to thank everyone that was involved in the formation of the Magento Association. Obviously, I think a lot of y'all are aware that Ben Marks is no longer our Adobe liaison for the association, and I wanted to especially take a moment to thank him. I've actually been friends with Ben for about 8 years now, so normally I wouldn't speak for anyone, but I think all the experiences I've had with Ben over the years, I want to take a moment actually speak for him. So sorry, Ben, if you are out there and hear this, but a lot of y'all, I'm sure, are aware that Ben was one of the individuals that really pushed for the creation of what became the Magento Association. I mean, he was involved with it before it even had a name, and he had and continues to have a lot of passion and support for the Magento community. What y'all may not know is that in my role as chair, Ben has always pushed me and challenged me and just hammered home the idea that everything that I do and everything we set the association up for has to be about the continued success of the Magento community. And so while we are sad that he will no longer be on the board with us and that he has moved on to another role, I know that we all feel not only thanks for what he has done, but also not an obligation, but we feel the weight of his efforts and his desire to see the Magento community continue to thrive. And so that is kind of what's guiding us as we move forward as a board to make sure that the things that we do are setting the Magento community up for many, many more years of success. With that, with Ben stepping down, Eric Irway has joined as our new Adobe liaison, and we're very excited to have him on the board as well. And with that, let's dive into some of what we have done since last town hall. And again, the Slido link down there, little quick, but please do keep the questions coming on Slido. The first thing that I wanted to update y'all on is the Commerce Co-op. So if you go to the Magento Association site, click over to our blog, you'll find the Commerce Co-op. We also send this out via email. And I am really excited about the work that our content committee has been doing with the Commerce Co-op. we've had over 34 unique contributors from the community. So that's individual voices separate from the board or our sponsors. And that is really exciting to see. And I'm excited to see how many more new voices we can get out on the blog this year. With that, if you are interested in sharing maybe some best practices, a case study, something that you've done in the community, just a different way that you are pushing the Magento platform forward, please do send us your content. You can reach out to info@magentoassociation.org. Additionally, we have a content committee that helps shape some of those articles and our content philosophy. So if you're interested in being involved in the content committee, again, as you'll hear throughout the day, email us at info@magentoassociation.org and we'll get you connected to the right people. So in addition to the Commerce Co-op, we've been doing a lot with our events committee. I'm very, very proud of what the events committee has done over the past year. So we have a process in place now for existing and new Meet Magento event organizers. So there's an application process, and then we kind of walk you through what you need to know to host and organize a Meet Magento event. So if you're out there and you're interested in hosting a Meet Magento event, shoot us an email and the team will walk you through that process. Additionally, I'm excited that we have a lot of interest from both existing Meet Magento organizers that y'all may recognize, and then some new organizers as well, to host not only the virtual events that we've all been doing thanks to COVID, but also I've seen some plans in the works for some in-person Meet Magento events resuming later this year and next year. And that is very, very exciting to see. So that is what's been going on there. I do want to mention before I turn it over to Danny to talk about some of the other things we've been up to, I'm just going to mention Slido again. Please get your questions flowing over there. Just enter that code 881003. And with that, Danny, do you want to talk to us about the podcast?
For sure. Thanks, Josh. Some exciting news for 2021 and new initiatives. So as the Magento Association wants to engage more with the Magento community, we feel like a podcast is the perfect platform for doing so. Since it will allow us for new voices to be heard and active discussions going on with community members during that podcast. That's why we're excited to announce the Magento Association will be launching a podcast for the Magento community later this year. No date has been set yet, but it's in the works. This podcast will also come with potential volunteer opportunities, as we will send out a call for volunteers when we know more what kind of roles we need in order to have this set up for a successful launch. So more on this later this year. And then on to the education strategy. As you are all aware, it's our mission to advance and empower the global Magento community through education and thought leadership. To fulfill on this mission, we've set out on a journey to explore the possibilities and create an education strategy. There are already several educational resources available to the Magento community, and we have created a poll that was conducted among the association members in order to shape the requirements and needs around education. We executed on that by hiring an outside consultancy firm to look at the current landscape and the educational offerings and identify any gaps within the educational market. That's on the next slide. So they came up with some potential courses that could be created by the Magento Association. However, when we got some quotes, the estimated cost ranged from between 80K to 150K per course. That's something that the association currently does not have a budget for. So we cannot support that currently, and that's why we would like to team up with existing educational and training efforts to leverage those for the potential community. If you're interested in teaming up, please let us know. And I think there should be an email address somewhere or something like info@magentoassociation.org. Reach out and then we can discuss that further. And then it's on to Sonia.
Thanks, Danny. Yeah, we have some events coming up actually in the not too distant future. There is MA Connect. MA Connect is our complimentary event for all Magento Association members. And we invite you to join us during this one-day virtual event. It's on April the 29th, and there will be networking opportunities for you and informative sessions for you to learn something that are offered by members of our community. But we don't just want you to sit back and listen to it, but also invite you to take an active role at MA Connect. For example, during our more interactive sessions and discussions, or maybe as a speaker. The call for content is still open. It's will be closed next Friday, the 2nd of April. So if you have a topic that you would like to share with the community, we invite you, yes, please, to submit your talk in our call for content. And we especially also encourage first-time speakers to submit their topics there. We plan to send out the feedback about call for content on the 12th of April. And also, we need support for this event to happen. We do have sponsors of the association, and we also have additional sponsor opportunities for MA Connect. So if you or your company is interested in sponsoring the event, please reach out to us, for example, to Jim Conlon. You have his email address right there to discuss details of sponsoring. Okay, and there is more events coming up. Later this year, we have on the 23rd of September, the fall edition of our town hall. So basically repetition of this meeting here, where you get another update from the Magento Association and its activities. And following the town hall, we plan to have a second MA Connect for 2021 on the 7th of October. So if you can't make it to MA Connect in April, you might want to note down the 7th of October in your calendar already. And as Josh mentioned, there will be Meet Magento events coming up this year. And once they are officially announced, you will find the dates on the Magento Association website. And with that, I would like to hand over to Slava.
Hello, everyone. Glad to see all of you today, and thanks for taking your time to join the town hall. I think me and all the board directors as well, we are excited for you kind of being here and your interest. And I'll continue with some updates on the committees and volunteering opportunities at the Magento Association and kind of partner side of it. So on the committee side, I'm really excited to see that we got going already with 4 committees, and one of those 4 is actually in the process of the launch, and there was a call out for volunteers, and thanks a lot for the applications that you all kind of fill out, and we were surprised to see that interest is really high. So we had to engage actually another newly created diversity and inclusion committee to help us with selecting the right members for membership committee, to make sure that this membership committee is representing the depth and breadth of our Magento ecosystem. So the membership committee, which is going to be seated next month, its goal would be to come up with a recommendation on a renewed membership program for the Magento Association. So we heard a lot of questions on what exactly is the motivation to become a Magento member, a Magento Association member, why you should be signing up for the membership, even though it's free. And the membership committee is going to refresh this program, and Sonia actually is going to also take part from the board members on behalf of the board to actively work with this committee together and come up with some incentives, some benefits for the members, and also finding meaningful ways to make the membership of Magento Association more attractive to the wider community. So I'm really excited to see the outcomes of this work. And as I mentioned, Diversity and Inclusion Committee is already operating. It already had 2 meetings, and the goal of this committee is to help us, help the board to make sure that in whatever we do, we represent the interest of the wide community, because even though there are multiple board members from various locations, but it is not possible to have the board fully representing our really diverse Magento community. And we're looking for help from Diversity and Inclusion Committee to give us this perspective from different kind of locations across the world, but not just locations, but also the job titles, roles, and kind of different perspectives. So that's what we're expecting from the NI committee, and it's already put in practice with helping us finding the proper kind of representation in across the committees, and also we'll be seeking for input of the committee when we kind of have elections in front of us, and we'll be thinking about filling the positions of the board members too. Events committee has been operating for a while. That's probably one of the oldest committees, or actually together with the content committee, I think they were seated around the same time. And events committee is in charge of actually providing an input to the board regarding the Meet Magento organizer applications that we kind of get in. So events committee is helping to vet the organizers and to review those applications. So they're doing a great help there, and also they're helping to consult the Magento Association's board on the overall event strategy. And I'm glad to see that also on the events front, we've been able to actually complete the phase of working on the legal agreement, which took a while, but since it is a legal process and we had to work together with Adobe lawyers on that and with event organizers, there was kind of a lot of effort involved, but that is already past us, and we already have some Meet Magento event applications in. And I encourage also event organizers, if you're listening to me now, please, if you have not already, go to magentoassociation.org and submit your application for a Meet Magento event if you would like to host one. And we'd love to see more and more events coming up and scheduling them throughout the year. And for the content committee, as you guys saw already from the slide earlier from Josh on the Commerce Co-op, the content committee is actually heavily involved with everything that we do at the Commerce Co-op. So Commerce Co-op is destined to be the voice of the community, and we are looking to have a diverse representation of articles coming up from the community. But of course, we cannot just publish everything that comes out the Magento Association's way. So that's why we have a content committee to actually review those applications, review those blog posts, and whatever appears on the website, it goes through the content committee. So actually the community, its representation in the committee is informing the editorial policy of the Magento Association. So the Magento Association's kind of Commerce Co-op concept of this open community blog is really independent, because it's not a certain board member who decides what gets published or not. It's not kind of any commercial organization that helps us do that, but that all depends on the content committee. And with that said, we are actually looking for new volunteers there to help us with continuing forward with this practice. And if you have a desire to help us with content, if you're passionate about it, especially if you have some experience around Magento content, ideally, maybe if you have your own blog or you contributed to some sort of blog, so you kind of know a little bit about that subject, we would love to have your help. So please let us know at info@magentoassociation.org if you'd like to help, and we'll be glad to accept it. And overall, on the committee side, on kind of volunteer side, as I started from, we're really happy to see that the board, the Magento Association, is actually switching from doing things just by board's kind of abilities. And as you know, there are just so many board members and our physical time is limited. So the only way for us to scale and deliver more programming back to the community is to engage volunteers. So we're really dependent on you, and the Magento Association, it's not a commercial organization. It's not some company that has a CEO and kind of a central policy and decision-making process. It is meant to be an open representation of the community. It is a nonprofit, volunteer-led organization, and only with the help of volunteers we can do more. So, of course, we need funding to do more, but also we need help from the community. And so we are looking for really engaged people who have time and energy to dedicate to serve with those communities. So please, if there is something in the area of interest, if you can dedicate your time, make a time commitment to serve on those committees and share your expertise and show up, I will really be glad to have you on board and proceed forward with all the programming with your help. Yeah, so Garrett, please, next slide. Again, please take a moment to have your questions entered to Slido. So you can see the link here. It's sli.do, and the code you enter there is 881003. So please go there, upload the questions you like, and enter your questions. We'll be glad to have your input, and we'll move to Q&A really shortly after I wrap up with partners. So first, talking about partners, I would like to extend a thank you to our funding partners, the companies that backed the Magento Association from the first year of its existence. Without those companies, it wouldn't have been possible to exist at all for the Magento Association, let alone do any programming. So we heavily depend on partners, we rely on their support, and because of that, we're able to do our programming. So I'd like to thank those companies that believed in Magento Association's mission quite early and kind of supporting us going forward. Throughout 2020 and start of 2021, the exciting news is that we have new partners joining us. So Digital River, Google, TaxJar, and WorldPay are joining our, or have joined already, some of them, our partner program. And we are really grateful for those companies. And it is a question that sometimes we hear from the community is, why does the Magento Association needs partners, and why do we as the Magento Association have kind of a partner program that is that kind of requires some financial contribution from the partners as well. So the thing is that most associations out there, they charge for membership. So for the most associations in the wild, if you want to be a member, you have to pay dues. And the Magento Association is not charging any membership fees. So for the association itself, right now, the only avenue of financing our existence is partners. Our partners. So we're relying on the partner community to support Magento Association, to let us run the association itself and proceed forward with our programming. And the Magento Association, just as a reminder, it's an official entity. So it's a registered nonprofit organization. It's not just kind of a group of informal group of people that kind of got together and decided to form the association. It is a formal organization, and it is done so for a reason. The reason is simple, because we all, and I hope I can speak for the whole board members here, I'm sure I can, we all want the association to outlive further any of our kind of individual tenures. So the board member term is just a couple of years, and then we want to kind of pass on what we have built to a different set of the board members, and then hopefully on and on, with the single goal of working for the sake of Magento community. And none of us, none of the board members is getting compensated for that. It's just our kind of goal and will is to give back to the Magento community, because I think many of us, we kind of feel like a lot of what we have in life is thanks to the Magento community. So we want to give something back, and that's our serving here is one of the ways to do that. And we want this association to be actually the body that can drive our community forward. So the association exists because it is larger than any individual commercial company out there, and some of the projects where coordination is needed from multiple kind of companies, the cooperation between multiple companies and the community as a whole, it by definition has to be something independent, and it has to be an organization that's not kind of a commercial for-profit company that has its own interest. And our interest as a nonprofit Magento Association is to pursue the interest of the community. And for that, we need help of community members through the committees and through membership, and we need help from partners. Now, to have partners on board, of course, we have to give them something in return as well, because those are commercial companies, so they're looking for kind of their return on investment, and that's natural. So those companies, we are delivering some promotional opportunities like sponsorships for our events, or possibility to have a webinar on our platform, or publish some content. So from time to time, you might receive newsletters, you might receive some kind of communication from the Magento Association on behalf of the partners. And if you kind of tick the box to receive this communication, you're actually supporting the association. So I want to thank you for doing that, because that's the way kind of to give back to our partners, to support them back for supporting the association. And that's the way that association can develop and leap forward. So with that in mind, I want to thank again to our current and past partners, and also thank all the association members for understanding and being with us on that journey. So thanks a lot, and I guess we can pass to Q&A.
Okay, so I will pass this one to Josh. Is there any plan for the association to take over stewardship of Magento open source in a similar way as to how Drupal Association acts as a steward for Drupal?
I love this community. We never start with the easy questions. So I will say that I can't speak for Adobe as a publicly traded company, especially. I can't tell you what their strategy may or may not be. I will say that the association and the board has had conversations internally about what we would need to do to be the stewards for Magento open source. It is something that, as an association, there's a lot of other associations that do this. It would be a lot of work. There are a lot of people currently employed at Adobe specifically to steward Magento open source. So it is not something that I can say, yes, we're going to do it, no, we're not going to do it. But it is something that we stand ready, that if that is something the association needs to do to see the success of the Magento community going forward, that is something that we could do.
And this one is for Slava. A lot of the emails I've seen are for sponsored content. For those interested in the content committee, is there a goal of content published by the association?
Yeah, of course. So the association publishes mostly content from the community. And of course, like I mentioned, there are some sponsorship obligations as well. So sponsors get an opportunity to publish blog posts, which are also kind of reviewed by the committee. But the primary goal for the committee is to source the original and valuable content pieces from the community and publish them on review and get them published on the Magento Association's blog on the Commerce Co-op. So absolutely, yes, the primary goal is to engage this kind of content flow and facilitate it.
This one is for Danny. With the note and focus on education earlier in your slides, is there an education committee planned, or is this part of the content committee?
Yeah, originally we were thinking that it was part of the content committee, as we were not wanting to launch too many committees at once, because they take some overhead for the board as well to launch a new committee and to get the volunteer opportunities in and select the committee there. But that is definitely a good suggestion. So that's something that we will talk about during next board call. And see where that brings us, if we want to spin it out of the content committee or keep it in there. And thanks for the suggestion, of course.
And here's a bit of a softball question for Sonia. When is the post-pandemic town hall party?
Oh, I wish it was today. but I guess we have to wait a little longer for this one. We have to take any opportunity we have for meeting in the circumstances that are, well, allowing us this. I know it's not like a live event. It does sometimes, though, get a similar vibe, especially if you have smaller groups getting together. We see this at meetups when they have some kind of breakout sessions. We also see this in kind of after our meetings. Unfortunately, we have to close on time today, but yeah, we're looking forward to see you all at MA Connect and have a bit more of an after party there with you.
And related to that, I saw someone asked about Adobe Summit and the association's involvement in Adobe Summit. What y'all may not remember, what I barely remember, because what a weird year it's been. We actually, as an association, were sponsoring a really fun event as part of Adobe Summit when Adobe Summit was going to be in person. We actually still have the deposit down on that venue and that event planned whenever Adobe Summit finally is able to be in person again. So we will continue to be involved in that. We do still have that set up and waiting. We're just kind of waiting, like so many people are, for things to be different than they are now, at least. But yes, I can't wait to see as many of y'all in person again.
And for Slava, with the reduction in board size, are there any plans to open up seats on the board to anyone else in the community?
Yeah, actually, that is also something we're utilizing the D&I committee help with to kind of surface the members of the community and help find potential new board members. And yes, we are, as you can see, Sonia was one of the kind of board members who joined in the process to help fill the vacant seat, and we'll have more.
And for Danny, on volunteering, could you speak a little more on specific volunteers that we're looking for and the role and commitment that and knowledge that might be required?
Yeah, so Slava mentioned volunteering opportunities in the, are they still open in the events committee as well as the content committee? I know that we did have a rotation there.
The specific, if you were to say about specific kind of skills needed, maybe that's the better angle, or the original intent behind this question is for the content committee, the skill is being able to review the blog posts and kind of make a recommendation of whether this content is fit or not for the Magento Association, and also maybe on the more strategic level, helping with the content strategy to the Magento Association and helping us source additional kind of content and help with just the editorial policy. So basically, if we were considering the Commerce Co-op blog as a small business unit, that would be like everything that that business unit entails. And for the other committees, the help with membership is to design and or rather redesign the membership program, come up with specific benefits and specific strategy for the Magento Association membership. What value should it offer? How should we go after kind of sourcing the Magento Association members and making this membership program attractive for the community? So those, I hope, would answer the question.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, most of the committees have a meeting like once or twice every month, and they consist of a chair, and somebody from the board will be there as well. And I hope that will answer your question.
And there are a few questions on Magento open source. Can somebody from the board speak a little bit about that? Specifically, why is Magento open source not pushed as an option for M2 migration? and just Magento Association needs to promote open source as it highlights commerce?
Yeah, I can jump into that one. I mean, as long as I've been involved in Magento, which has been feels like a very long time. There's always this balance and also frustration almost between the open source edition and the paid edition. And the paid edition is what provides the revenue for Adobe and what provides the revenue for honestly a lot of our partners, agencies. I mean, it's what creates the most jobs basically in the Magento space. So we can't ignore it, but it is true that there needs to be a balance with how we position and support open source versus commerce. To me, I feel like open source is the best way to grow merchants so that they then can afford and are interested in commerce. So I view them as complementary. And my goal for the association would be that our content and our messaging supports both, while still kind of respecting that, you know, some of our partners may not work with open source. They may want to only work with merchants that are on commerce. That's where our community can kind of fill in those gaps. And so it's a difficult balance. I wish that we could just get lots of donations and it all be free and open source and wonderful. But we do have to kind of make a balance. So that's why you see sometimes commerce being highlighted.
And Slava, how many members does the association currently have? I can say that's a little bit over 1,800. And how does that compare to our goals for this point when everything was initially set out?
Yeah, we had, I think, multiple goals. And I remember Josh kind of going ambitious and setting a goal in front of the board. And we were hoping that we would reach, I think it was 10,000 members pretty quickly. But, you know, things don't always go as planned. If you would look at what the last year kind of brought to all of us, and we are committed to growing the membership further, and that's actually the reason why the membership committee is in the active stage of recruiting. So we're there to find ways to get people to become members. But what else I would say is that there are a lot of people in the Magento ecosystem that consume Magento Association's content and even participate in Magento Association's event while not being Magento Association members. So the kind of overall reach of the Magento Association, I would say, is much higher. And it is kind of this formal relationship of membership aspect, which is different. But we're looking forward to finding a way to kind of merge those two together and to make sure the membership is easy and kind of there are many reasons to sign up for it.
So if you're not a member and you're here, go to Magento Association.org and sign up immediately.
That's right. And for Josh, what are the plans for the upcoming 6 to 12 months until the next town hall?
I knew you were going to throw that one to me. I've been frantically searching my email we have actually a plan of work document that maps out month by month what we're planning on doing. Of course, I can't focus on it right now. But I can say that we have a specific amount of content targeted to release each month. We do have kind of a benchmark we want to hit with the podcast of releasing some of those episodes. That is still, we're still evaluating a couple of options there. So I don't want to tell you we're going to have a certain specific number of episodes by a specific date, but internally we do kind of have that target we're working towards. And really, to me, the biggest thing is getting more people involved and engaged in our committees and doing so in a way that better represents the entire Magento ecosystem. So we've all said something along these lines today, but I think there's a lot of different ways to split or classify the Magento ecosystem. You have merchants, you have agencies, you have tech partners, freelancers, there's geographies, there's all these different ways that we can kind of slice and dice the numbers. And I want to see us in all of those different ways and areas, increasing the diversity of the association, of our committee memberships, of the people that are writing our content, and really reaching people that maybe haven't been reached in the past. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't even know that there is a Magento ecosystem, that they're the individual freelancer that's kind of just discovered Magento open source and is working on it, still finding their way around. And I think finding better ways to reach those people and pull them in is a big part of what we're going to be doing over the next 6 to 12 months.
And one for Sonia. What is the difference between Meet Magento and a Magento meetup?
So Meet Magento events usually happen once per year and are targeted at a national audience. For example, there's Meet Magento Germany here in my country, Meet Magento Netherlands, etc. And then there are the Magento meetups, also Magento Stammtisch here in Germany, which are usually set up for local audiences, for example, specific areas, cities, and folks, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Magento meetups use a different logo, etc., compared to Meet Magento, that is a brand that is currently, organized by the Magento Association. So it is a question of what kind of branding and audience you're looking for. Also, the Meet Magentos usually are a one-day event or two-day events, and meetups often sometimes in the after work hours, often online these days. So if you want to look up the meetups, you could go to meetup.com, and there is a section for all Magento meetups gathered in one place that is actually managed by Sherry Rhodey, the Magento community manager. I hope this answers your questions. If not, please follow up.
And sticking with Meet Magento events, somebody asks, can they organize a regional Meet Magento in their country if a national level meetup is already taking place?
That is something I would like to pass on. Josh?
Yeah, I can jump into that one. So we are trying to not create confusion between Meet Magentos. So for instance, if there were, let's just pick a country at random. Let's say there was a Meet Magento Iceland. We wouldn't want to have two Meet Magento Icelands organized by two different people. That would get confusing. So we do have a process when you apply to be an event organizer where we look at basically what would set your event apart from the other existing events and making sure that it really serves the best interest of the community in that area. So typically, we haven't had more than one Meet Magento per country. However, that is something that, especially in larger countries, we have discussed how there may be a future where there are regional events. So I would say the best way to get a specific answer to that question is email info@magentooassociation.org, ask for the organizer application, and then we can kind of walk you through the process from there.
And then one for Slava. A lot of things feel geared towards partners. Are there plans to have committees specifically geared towards merchants?
That's an interesting question. I would probably say that, geared towards merchant is a broad definition, as well as geared towards partners, because the partner content, if that's in question, for example, it is actually geared towards merchants primarily, because merchants are also a driver of the ecosystem. Historically, we don't see that many active merchants in the community, and it's maybe understandable. There are less kind of enthusiasts among merchants on kind of really particularly interested in Magento, because their kind of main line of work is actually selling and kind of running their business. And while partner or agency or freelancer or kind of other community members' business is directly related to Magento, for merchants, it is more of a tool that they use, and not all of them are obviously so much involved in the community. With that said, there are really good examples of community members who are merchants. And we at the Magento Association, we view that group as integral in the ecosystem, and we want them also represented in the Magento Association. So we, for example, would love to have a board member who is a merchant to represent that kind of perspective and point of view. So we are really open to that. And in case there are merchants right now at the town hall listening to us and interested to join, please also send an email to info@magentoassociation.org, and we'll be happy to talk. And our goal is shortly, kind of to put it shortly, our goal is to have sufficient and adequate representation on all fronts towards merchants as well, whether it's the content or opportunities or anything that the Magento Association does, including events. And I'm sure at the upcoming Magento Association Connect event, you will kind of find a lot of content specifically created for merchants. So you're welcome to sign up.
And one final question from somebody in the Zoom chat. mCloud has deficiencies with security functionality and partners opt to bring in other solutions. Do you anticipate this gap being filled around security? And I'm not sure who to direct that to.
My first thought is directed to Adobe, but that's probably not super helpful. That's a landmine of a question. I'm not going to debate if there are or aren't deficiencies and what other partners may choose to do around cloud. But I will say that every time I talk to anyone at Adobe, especially as Magento Cloud has grown over the years, they are at the point where Visa and MasterCard talk to them about security, where if there's a security issue with Magento Cloud, it could impact, things to that high of a level. So I know they have a lot of resources around security and a lot of attention they're putting on security. I would expect, especially if merchants raise this question and this concern to Adobe directly, I would suspect that Adobe will be quick to address those concerns and would, if needed, just like how they pulled in New Relic and other tools, I think there are other tools that they would consider pulling in if that's a request they hear from the market. And that is as deep as I'm going to go on that one.
Okay, that takes care of all the pending questions.
Well, if you didn't ask a question and you think of it later, as you will probably guess, you can email info@magentoassociation.org. We're also going to post this recording up on the Magento Association site so that if you have colleagues that weren't able to attend, but you think would benefit from this, please share it. And Garrett, I don't know if we want to give people a couple of minutes to think of other questions or if we want to wish them well and give them 10 minutes back in their day.
Maybe we can, in the meantime, just one more time remind that we are having Magento Association's Connect event in next month. So April 29th, that's right adjacent to the Adobe's Summit event. And Magento Association is looking to complement Adobe Summit with a good online community event for everything around Magento. So this is your chance to really kind of hopefully, immerse yourself into this friendly atmosphere that we all used to have around Magento Imagine, which is kind of transformed into the summit and now is more kind of merged with the Adobe product. So the Magento Association Connect is really there for us, for Magento enthusiasts, for Magento community to get together and enjoy it. So we're working really hard on putting together a great lineup. Call for speakers is still open, like Sonia mentioned. And this year it is a content committee, or rather like the speaker committee that Sonia is putting together, will be selecting the speakers. So actually the program will be formed by the community and for the community. And I would just encourage you all to sign up for Call for Papers if if you have a proposal. If you want to speak, just go ahead at the Magento Association's website. You can find the form, fill it in. We'll be glad to consider you as a speaker, but also we'll have the registration form up. I think it is maybe even today or tomorrow in the coming days, and you'll receive an email. You'll look at the social networks for the Magento Association's announcement. Also, the Magento Association's website, you'll find it. But please join us for this event, and let's make it really a great gathering of Magento Association's members and the community.
Okay, then. Thank you, everybody.